Two, one. Okay, guys. Pete Ramsey here, HVAC Greatness. Welcome back. I'm in my t-shirt and blue jeans today because guess what? I'm not presenting. We're going to leave this one over to Sam. Sam Wakefield, are you there, my friend?
That's a big Texas 10-4 over here.
Oh boy, he's coming from Texas. Okay, so Sam, talk to us about this sales process and those 7 key elements. I'm excited. I'm pumped. Let's hear about it.
All right, so yeah, this whole thing that we call sales is so much fun. It's ridiculous. And that's one of the very first things that I want to talk about is when you're doing sales, if you're not having fun, then you're doing something wrong, because energy is contagious. You know, Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, they used to all say, of course, that all sales is the transfer of enthusiasm. And I 100% agree with that. So I'm going to go ahead and just flip it over to my slides here because I've got a lot to cover in a really short amount of time. As we all know, a sales appointment is, well, today, this afternoon, I was in a house for 2 hours and 15 minutes, and it was there was a lot to cover because we followed the system properly. So, close it now. That is my business. Thank you, Pete. First of all, huge shout out to Mr. Pete Ramsey. I totally agree, Steve, with your video today. Awesome, by the way. And what you said in there, it's all about serving the client, serving others. If you go in there with a $sign on their all you're seeing is $sign on people's foreheads, they can smell commission breath from a mile away, and you will never sell anything. It has to be about serving them first. Just like you said, finding something that's going to fit not only their need, we know what people buy, what they want, not what they need, but fit their wants as well as their budget. So yeah, great job with that today. It was awesome. I loved it. But huge shout out to Mr. Pete Ramsey. You are a true rock star in this industry. Thank you so much for everything you do. I'm grateful to get to partner with you in this, and I'm excited for what we were doing. So Total HVA $1 Million Masterclass is what I'm calling this. Let's go. 7 steps to close a sale. You will learn 7 key ingredients every sales conversation must have to close it now. That's the whole point. We do all of those warm touches, just like Pete talked about last night, to warm the client up for when we get there, so we can ask for the sale. We can get money, we can provide them a service, and everybody goes home happy. How to customize your introduction and presentation for maximum engagement, and how to stop creating unnecessary follow-up work for yourself. My whole philosophy is work less and sell more. Raise your hand if that sounds good to you, as I know I've worked my face off, and I've worked less and sold more, and I would much prefer the next. So remember, silence all of your devices. This is important. Email, etc. Get in a quiet place so you can focus. This is value packed. Turn off all of your distractions. Quick reminder. Okay, here we go. Most salespeople, I've done this in the past. I used to drop my bid and run, then chase the homeowner until they ghosted me. It's where most people get stuck, and this is why the industry average close rate is 30%. So if you're lower than that, then you're just under the average. If you're holding at about 30, that's the industry average, industry standard. High performers close 50 to 60% all the time. And so that is expert, over on the right, expert comfort consultants, only consultants with a proven sales system. I gotta move this. I gotta move the pictures of everybody who keeps getting in front of my slides. Only consultants with a proven sales system can have predictable results and dramatically increase their income by working less and selling more. So stick around, settle in and stick around. If you're tired of hearing, I want to think about it. You've ever heard we have to get 3 bids. Too many people say your price is too high. You feel like you're just running in circles trying to do follow-up. Every time you step into a house, you lose control of the appointment. I know that's been me in the past. Or you see other consultants selling multiple millions of dollars every year, but you have no idea how they are doing it. You're results driven and truly love helping people. And sales seems overwhelming and way too many steps and way too many steps and skills to learn. So if that's you, stick around because we've got some good news for you. Leave now. We don't want you here if you are an information junkie, but never take action. You don't do anything with it. That's called knowledge on ice, and it won't accomplish anything for you. You think people only buy the cheapest price? You think your city or town is the problem. I've heard that before, and that's definitely not true. You think you already know everything there is to learn about in-home sales, or you think sales is dependent on the weather. It has some influence, but it's definitely not dependent on the weather. Your only concern is how big the sale is and how much commission it will pay you. Like I mentioned a minute ago, if you have commission breath, people can smell it from a mile away. So who am I? How am I qualified to bring this information to you? So I started my career as an installer way back in 2006 in a tiny Texas town. I needed a job and they were hiring. Little did I know that this was the start of a lifelong journey into the world of attics, crawl spaces, and heats, of course. I started my journey up the ladder with installation helper and instantly became a foreman a few months later when the rest of the crew quit on the same day. Has that ever happened to you? Instant promotion because everybody quits? So just a quick pop out on these pictures. That of course is me in the back there. The reason I'm wearing that blue suit, I'm in a crawl space right there. One summer I got scabies really, really bad all over me. So I was paranoid. So I wore the silly suit for about a month after that, anytime I went into a crawl space. And so it was nasty. So I've been in the trenches. So I decided that for things to get better, I had to get better. Fast forward 3 years and I finally hit the $1 million mark in sales, not too shabby in a town of 13,000 people. So that is truly what you would call market dominance with our company at that point. Then decided to become a business owner and open a home performance side of the company with my partner, enter the world of what we call Dr. Energy Saver. That was part of that organization. And things were looking up. We went on to win massive amount of awards, including Dealer of the Year for our local distributor for 10 years in a row. Was able to meet, of course, one of my role models, Mr. Michael Gerber, author of The E-Myth, that's in the back there. And I committed to 100% to learning, growing, and achieving. So my question to you tonight, are you ready to commit? Are you ready to commit to becoming a better person? One thing that I talk about a lot is in order for things to get better, we have to get better. And our number one goal is to work to become someone worth buying from. Has to do with your personal growth. So, have you ever left a sales appointment with that sick feeling in your stomach that you know they were ready to buy, but you just didn't know how to ask? Oh my gosh, that's been me in the past. Who in here has ever opened up your calendar or whose office looks like this? To see a massive follow-up list. Then you just close the door and go back out in the field and do something else when you know this should be your follow-ups. The rumor has it that may or may not have been what my office looked like at one point in time. So I'm seeing chats in here. Your kitchen table looks like that, Paul. Yeah, totally. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So today you'll learn 7 key ingredients. So quick question, can y'all see when I've got can you see my chat box that's on my screen, or is that only on you?
No, everybody can see their own, we cannot see yours, Sam.
You can't see the faces in the chat. Okay, just making sure. All right, 10-4. All right, so today, 7 key ingredients in every sales conversation that will take you from blind date to wedding vows without creating that unnecessary follow-up that let's face it, most of us aren't going to do anyway. So here we go. Sales adventure begins. So here's where we have to get a little bit serious. Who here has an aversion to sales? You know you need to do it, but it just kind of makes you feel gross. Or maybe you have no problem selling some basic equipment, but when it comes to offering a higher end solution, you start to get freaked out a bit. Don't feel weird, of course. It happens to most of us one time or another. It's been me in the past for sure. There's always that next, you find where your comfort zone is, and then you push that edge and you push that edge until, okay, what's the next thing? What makes me feel quickie now? What's the next thing that makes me feel uncomfortable? And so this is an easy obstacle to overcome. So let's first deal with this before we get into the steps, because if we don't deal with this, none of the steps matter. So there we go. The problem is your mindset, of course, and your focus. Do you truly offer a great service and product? There we go. Do you truly offer a great service and product? More importantly, do you believe you offer a great service and product? You have to believe that to your core, otherwise people can sense that from you. And if so, the best way to help people is for them to buy what you're selling. Am I right? You can't help them if they don't buy anything. They have a problem, you have a solution, but if they don't purchase it from you, you can't help them. And so that is where we have to change our focus. If you have a problem offering higher priced equipment or uncomfortable with your pricing, you're focused on you. The main thing to remember, absolutely do not spend the client's money for them. It is your responsibility to present like a rock star. Let them decide what they would like to buy. If your focus is on helping them find a solution, it takes all the pressure off you. What a relief. Raise your hand, right? That's like, oh my gosh. The second I understood that and realized that it's not my money, just because I may or may not have personally the financial means to buy the very top end system, doesn't mean somebody else does or doesn't. We have no idea. So if our focus is on serving them, it takes all the pressure off of us, and it doesn't matter what our account looks like. It's all about theirs. So context. Let's set some context for every single thing that we do in our modern permission-based selling model. I know, Stephen, you'll totally agree with this. The old style was, I'm going to tell you what you need. The new style, what's working now all over the country in our society, is this. Step one, ask permission. So it's like just the picture on the left, building the blocks on each other. Number two, give permission. And number three, check in and confirm. And so you're going to hear me do that as we go through. And it just has become so second nature and natural that this is perfect for literally every conversation in your life. It could be with your spouse or your partner or your mom or dad, brother or sister, people at the grocery store. It doesn't matter. If you ask permission first, then give the information, then check in and confirm, and everything will completely change for you. So now let's get into the 7 ingredients to every sales conversation. Number one is intro, and this is very specific order and for a reason, and we're going to cover why it has to be in this order. Otherwise, if you get things out of order, you're going to lose people along the way. So like that long hallway of sales, if you're in a long hallway at a hotel and all of these rooms or doors on each side, imagine the door at the very end of the hallway is the sell. The doors on the sides are objections and escape points for the client. It's our job to grab them by the hand and take them down the hallway all the way to the end and close all the doors before we get there, so they have nowhere to go except for the door that says sell on it. So if we do these out of order, we're leaving some of those doors open. Number one, intro and agenda. Number two, the needs analysis. This is asking questions. If you're not asking questions, you're missing literally millions of dollars in revenue. Asking permission. We're going to talk about that in depth. The benefit posture. We have to talk in terms of benefits. Number 5, there has to be some element of social proof, testimony, somewhere in, not just in your presentation, but in everything you do. Pete will give you a massive amount of information on, how to generate reviews and how important those reviews are and all this kind of stuff. Now, what do we do with them? We use them right here in the sale. Number 6, key question. There's one big key question, so stick around. You have to know what this key question is, and I guarantee you it will close more deals literally this week if you ask the question. And the number 7, you've got to ask for the sale. So step 1, intro and agenda. There's several purposes of this portion. First is to give the client, okay, gotcha. Just making sure I'm not missing something in the chat here. Hey, Pete, I'm going to not watch the chat, so if you'll just let me know if something pops up I need to respond to.
I got it. I got it.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. And the reason I'm going so fast is, 1, I've got a lot of information, and 2, I want to give some time for Q&A at the end, because I know that there's going to be some really good conversation after this. So step 1, intro and agenda. First, to give the client a chance to get comfortable with you. What does that mean? Anytime anything new is introduced into your environment or anyone's environment, there's some like this unfamiliarity. You've got to give them time to just get used to something new. And that's why the whole point of warming up initially, but the intro is important for that. And think about when you hire somebody or the new guy at your company or girl, they come in, that's why there's the new guy card, because nobody's really comfortable with them yet. And everybody knows the instant that changes, well, that's the same thing that happens when we walk into somebody's house for the first time. So second is to set credibility in place for both you and your company. Start with the company. So imagine this is big umbrella. Start with the company, credibility piece for the company, credibility piece for you. Once this is done, the client will hear your information at a higher level and with more regard than if you wait to introduce yourself or your company. A lot of people wait and move this piece until the end when they sit down at the table to go over options. You're missing a massive amount of value. And the reason is this. So a great example, you probably have all seen, and if you haven't, there's a video of a world famous violinist who's playing Carnegie Hall in New York City. Well, during the day, to get practice time in, he goes and sits in the subway. Sitting in the subway, he opens, just in normal clothes, opens up his case, and he's busking in the subway all day long. And people will walk by for a couple minutes and maybe drop a couple quarters in his case. Well, he played sold out Carnegie Hall that night for $100,000. They didn't know who he was before they were listening to him. The people that knew who he was listened at a much higher level because his credibility preceded him. That is the reason we have to, and it doesn't have to be a lot, but take a couple minutes in your introduction, and here's how to do it. So basically, would you guys like to hear how to introduce this? Yes? Okay. So it starts with a question. So Pete, you're my person. I come in the house. I'm like,
Yes,
hey,
sir.
Pete, our clients tell us, man, it's important to know about the company and the person they're working with. We think that's important too. I'd like to take a second and cover that with you. Would that be all right?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Cool. And then okay, you can kill your mic now. At that point, and that's it. That's as simple as that. Or, hey, you found us on, or another good way to get into it is, how'd you find us? How'd you hear about us? How much do you know about our company? Great. We love people that come to us from Yelp, for example. That it tells us you're researching, but also, we love to tell people a little bit about the company so you know who you're doing business with, who you're talking to. Could we take a second and cover that? Just something simple. It doesn't have to be complicated, but just ask permission to do it. And then it doesn't have to be a lot. It'd be like, we're a local family-owned company, or if you're if you work in a chain, that's awesome too. Say, man, we're a national company. Either way, just introduce it somehow. And then about yourself, say, man, I've been in the industry this long. If you haven't been in HVAC for very long, do this. Be like, my mission for the last however many years has been serving people. I focus and pride myself on taking care of other people's needs, and so it doesn't have to be a lot, just enough that they hear you at a different level. So third, of course, by setting the agenda, is you're taking control of the appointment. The most professional thing you can do is lead the client down the path of buying. When you go to the doctor, they don't small talk for 15 minutes about the weather and about their car in the parking lot. That is called, that's fake rapport. When you start doing that with people, it comes across as gross. That unless you're truly interested in something, don't do fake rapport building small talk. We're there to be friendly, not to be their friend. In no way are they going to take you to lunch next week. So don't waste time doing it. Be professional, be friendly, but don't be fake with the rapport building. Rapport building is not making conversation about random stuff. Does this make sense to everybody? So, and it's important. And this will save you a massive amount of time. People that say they can't do all these steps is because they waste too much time talking about useless information. So that is step one. Step two. Okay, this is the easiest way, because I hear so often I get to the house and I lose control of the appointment. They instantly want to take me to the furnace. They want to take me to the problem. That this is the simple way to do it. These two words will change everything for you. When they want to take you straight to the furnace or condenser or whatever, so just say, of course, I want to check that out. And you're going to have your stuff with you, right? We always have a bag or something. But first, is there somewhere I can set my stuff down? A kitchen table, a counter, somewhere. This allows you to gracefully but firmly take control of the appointment. Remember, it is your appointment. Keep control. We've got to keep control of the flow and the tempo and the timing of the appointment. It's not hard, but we just have to know the right steps how to do it. So those two words will allow you to take control of the appointment every single time. Step two, the needs analysis. Our entire process, of course, based on permission-based selling. Never, never, never raise your right hand and say, I will never. Never present anything, any solutions, if you haven't first asked the client if they need or they interested in what you do. This by going through a questionnaire, or if you just have a consistent set of questions that you ask every time. Now, a quick pop out on the questionnaire. Your free gift, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, is I have a formal homeowner questionnaire that I'm going to give to every single one who wants it. Now, remember, it's a tool. You don't use every tool on every call. Probably 80% of the time, I use the questionnaire. Sometimes we go through it in detail. Today was a detailed questionnaire. I was in the house for over 2 hours. Sometimes, if the second you pull your questionnaire out, the homeowner starts to give you kind of like a weird resistance, tuck it back away and say, oh, you know what, that's our, I make a joke about it. I'm like, oh, that's a system, but I can tell that, that it's not a big deal to you. Let's just talk about what your problems are. But I've memorized it, so I know the questions to ask. The reason for the questionnaire, though, people, even if they don't want you to use it, they find it very, it really is impressive that you prepared so much ahead of time to be able to ask them the right things. It's important to know what you're asking. And I highly recommend the questionnaire so you don't don't forget to ask questions. One of the ones I used to miss all the time is how loud is the equipment? Does it bother you? I just would forget about the noise question. And sometimes that's a big hot button. So I like the questionnaire, use the questionnaire. It all begins with, though, before you do it, would you mind if I ask you a few questions so I can serve you best? Now, that question can be used if you're a technician, if you're doing installations. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Not only in just the sales visit, but say it's a service call. Before you go and do whatever it is that you're there to do, whatever the reason for the call, no cool call, no heat call, whatever. Before you do that, ask this question. Would you mind if I ask you a few questions so I can serve you best? And then just ask them about a couple things in the house. It doesn't have to be long, but you're opening them up to answering questions for you. That way, when you ask questions later, they will be already in that rhythm and in that flow of answering your questions. So it's important. Step 3, asking permission. Let's see what time we're at. Oh, we're good. Next step is built on our 3-step formula for giving information. Remember, it was the ask permission, give information, check in, and confirm. So once you've gone through your questions, there's a break. You go through the questions about the house, what they're experiencing, what their concerns are, and then that's when, of course, you do your investigation. You go off, figure out what the heck is going on with the house. Why do they have that room in the corner of the house that's too hot or too cold? Why are they having allergy and issues? Why, figure out what the deal is. Why are their bills so high? In your mind, though, we can, if you've been in this game very long, you can almost pick out every single problem in a house from the street before you walk in. Am I right? More importantly, you have to do the due diligence to go through and actually look at it. A quick story is I was number 5 or something in a house with this homeowner one time. I was the only person who climbed to the other side of the attic, who was really tight trusses, to find their ductwork had completely come apart off of the transitions, and no wonder they weren't getting any cold air in this one bedroom. Instantly got me the sale, even though I was $2,000 higher than my nearest competitor, because I did my due diligence. It has nothing to do with anything else. They want to know you're going to solve their problem. So investigate. You're also putting together in your mind what kind of bundles you're going to offer. It's not about just putting together an air conditioner and a heater. It's not just selling equipment. It's solving problems for them. So everything is solutions based around what their concerns are. And so just like Stephen was saying in his video earlier, when you put together a bundle for solving their problem, people love bundles. People buy on bundle pricing all the time with internet, phone, TV, you name it, there's a bundle. People buy bundles. So the big question though, once you've done all the information, we've got to ask the question, would you like to hear, or depending on the person, like to hear, or would you like to see how we can solve the problems we just discussed? Of course, they're going to say yes. Great. That's when you move into your presentation of the solutions. Before this point, you haven't mentioned a single way to solve any of their problems, because you want to expand those problems before you go around and investigate, so they can simmer in their problems while you're investigating. It increases their pain point. That way, when you offer your solutions, it's exactly what they want. Step 4, benefits. The client's mind is only tuned into one radio station. What, WIIFM, what's in it for me? People don't care about what's in it for you or anybody else. They want to know what's in it for them. So in order to communicate in a way that they care about, we have to do it in terms of benefits. They don't care what it does. They only care how it will make them feel. Will it solve their problems? So that's step 4. Remember, when you're communicating, only talk in terms of benefits. Number 5, this is a big one. This is where you use those reviews we've been working so hard to collect, right? Stories sell, facts tell. It's a continuation of the benefit philosophy, of course. Again, most clients don't care how it works. They only want to know that it does work. Testimonies are social proof that what we do is effective and solves problems for people. Reviews, part of this process. So a well-placed story in your visit has such massive value. When you have clients and you're going through your process, and you can tell somebody a story, be like, man, Pete, this reminds me exactly of a client I had just the other day, or last month, or last year, or this other client I have. She had the same situation in her house. This were her problems. Once we were done, oh my gosh, this is this, and this, and she told us this, and it was awesome. She lives just down the street. And when you gather enough of those stories and you can tell it effectively in the call, that's literally worth gold. I know Pete will totally agree with that. Those reviews are powerful. All of the top salespeople have a book of reviews they keep with them, that especially and print them off when you get them on Yelp and Google and Angie's List, all those, especially if they mention your name, or if they're super awesome ones, print them off and keep them in your credibility book. It's awesome. It's important. Not everybody looks at the internet. So when you have those clients that don't, say, oh, here's some internet reviews. Step 6, this right here is worth, if you don't remember anything else tonight, remember the 3-step process: ask permission, give the data, check in. And this, the key question, this is what's left out by most people, it has the most weight in the process. Can you see, once you've gone through all the issues, ask them, can you see how this will solve your problem? If it's about a hot and cold room, if it's about IAQ, if it's about energy, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is, but you go through every single problem you and them talked about, and you ask them, can you see how by doing this, this, and this, one, that was causing your problem, and also how this will solve your problem? Make them answer. Do not move on until they answer in the affirmative that they see that this will solve their problem. Because 2 things are going to happen. Either they don't understand, if we move on without asking, obviously we miss an incredible opportunity to make sure everything's understood. If they don't understand something, this is the point right now where they will let you know way before there's prices on the table. That way you can circle back and recount that situation, the problem, how the solution was, until they get it. Or if they're not sure that they even want that part of the project, you can talk about this right now and say, okay, cool, let's leave it in for now. We can always right size it later. But you're going to have a great understanding that they understand everything that you're doing, because the confused mind says no. We don't want a confused client in front of us. That's why you check in so often. Normally, if this was a live training like I do sometimes, every single one of these steps, I would be like, does this make sense? Do you understand? So number 7, ask for the sell, the big one, right? You don't go to the restaurant, order food at the end of the meal, expect to just walk out without them asking you to pay the bill. And so it's the same thing here. And remember, most of us work for free until somebody signs a check. I don't know about you, but I don't like to work for free. So the big question, the closing question, actually asking for the sell. Now, how many of you typically close the sell like this? And I can't see most of you because I've got the screen share going. So it's kind of anonymous, but Pete, you can watch for me. How many of you close the sell like this? Now, actually, Pete, role play with me with this for a second.
Okay.
No, so Mr. Ramsey,
Yes, sir.
can you understand? Can you see how everything we talked about, this is going to solve the problems you mentioned?
I mean, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Great, great. Okay, so how soon do you plan on making a decision on this project?
Well, I was thinking about getting a couple of other estimates there, Sam.
Oh gosh, you know what? Oh, that soon. Wow. Well, would you mind if I followed up like Tuesday or Thursday next week with you?
No, that'd be fine.
Okay, great. Now, what did we do? We instantly created follow-up right into our process that didn't need to be there. We literally built it in instead of asking for the sell right then. So many people do that. And it doesn't matter how he would have answered. It could have been the 3 bids. It could have been the, I want to think about it. Or he could have just said, well, maybe this next week sometime. Well, so then we'd still ask the same question. Okay, so Tuesday or Thursday. Don't do that. Stop doing that. That is the worst possible close. You're creating more work for yourself than is needed, because you will be amazed at the number of people who will say yes if you just ask. So good closing questions. There's a million of them. I like, will you trust me with this project? Once they say yes, they understand, just ask them. So bring it down yourself. Will you trust me with this project? Shut up and listen. Or if they're on a scale of 1 to 10 for excitement, if they're a 9 or a 10, most of the time I'm just like the assumed sell. I'm like, cool. The next steps are, let's pick a date. The next steps are, we just gotta fill out this quick little paperwork and we'll get rolling. Or, of course, a good one is, great, why don't we get on the calendar? That's a nice, comfortable. None of these are pressure closes, but they're very comfortable to roll with. Then, of course, and you'll be amazed, following these steps in this order, I guarantee you that your close rate will go up immediately if you do all of these things in this order. Scout's honor. Okay, now the fun starts. So every bit of that was the first half of the sale. We'll see what time we got. Oh, good. We've got plenty of time. Excellent. So here's the cool part. 35 minutes. We literally just went through my typical home visit for that amount of time. That's how long it takes in the house. Literally did it almost word for word with people. Now the sale starts. The first half of the sale up to asking for the sale the first time, that's only half the sale. Now we go to work. So something that I wanted to give you guys tonight, because I know that one of the biggest things that people have are objections. People have objections. Oh my God, objections. We hear all these objections. Objections are typically smokescreen for a bigger problem. You know, the 3 bids, I want to think about it. I got to talk to my partner, my spouse, or my neighbor's uncle who owns a heating and air company in Tucson, Arizona, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It's all a version of the same thing. Now, at my latest podcast that just came out, it's actually on this. So if you haven't listened to it, this is a sneak peek, but you can totally check out the podcast as well. But I'd like to cover with you the ping pong close, because this is a very, there's a lot of finesse in this close, and it's so beautiful, and you're going to laugh. It's a great way to, when you have both decision makers at the table, if it's a 2-person decision maker process and they're both there, here's how it goes. It's so fun, because raise your hand if you've ever heard of the porch light close. Porch light close? Porch light close is great. Okay. So let's set the context. I'm going to tell you what the porch light close is first, and then we're going to roll into the ping pong close. So the porch light close is when you're sitting at the kitchen table, they're both there. They're starting to give you, you ask for the sale, and they give you the first objection of, it could be, you know what, I just don't make this big of a decision in one night. Or it could be, you know, something like, man, I've got to think about it. Especially, this is how to handle the I want to think about it. We assume incorrectly that that means a set amount of time. That always, in most people's minds, they instantly go to, okay, I'll get back with you tomorrow or Tuesday or Thursday. No. Thinking about something doesn't have to take very long. So the porch light close is, well, great. No, I get it. I totally understand, Mr. Ramsey. You know, when me and my wife, we make big purchases, we've got to think about it. We've got to talk it over as well. So I'll tell you what, my phone here has been blowing up. I'm going to step outside real quick and call the boss back, call the wife back, call the kids back, whatever. And when you guys talk about it, when you're ready, just flip that porch light on and off, or come get me and I'll come back in and we can finish up. So, fair enough? And you end with that tonality. Fair enough? The key is, don't pack any of your stuff up. Leave it all spread out. Do not pack it up. If you pack it up and walk out, they're going to close the door right behind you and say, okay, we'll call you tomorrow, which is what you don't want. Leave it out so you have to go back in and get it. But what we don't understand is most of the time, what I want to think about it sounds like is something like this. Well, what do you think, honey? Well, babe, I think that basically solves our problems. Well, great. You think we should do it? Yeah, I think I'm free Wednesday. Can we make Wednesday work? Sure, sounds good. Go flip on that light. And that's usually what the conversation is like. That's literally it. The problem is we expect it to take way longer and to be over more things. So that's the porch light close. Now, are you ready for the ping pong close? Raise your hand. Yes. So I like the porch light close. I use it sometimes, but I don't like it because you physically leave the house and you take your energy with you. Because the entire process, and this is a whole training for another day. There's so much stuff, but the whole process, you're taking their energy, you enter their world at their energy, but then you're taking them to a specific place, energy-wise, that you've got to get them to be emotionally connected to sign the deal. So don't leave the house. The ping pong close goes like this. And this came actually from somebody in my Facebook group, but the close didn't. The problem came up from this. The guy kept saying, I just can't make this big of a decision in a single night. It was an $18,000 zone job. The wife was sitting there giving all the buying signals, nodding the head. She's smiling, looking over at the husband, kind of almost elbowing him. And he just was stuck on, I don't make that big a decision in a single night. So this works when you've got the two people there, super smooth. And always ask the person who you can tell is a little more excited first. Say, now, if, so say she's excited and he's not as excited. So I'd be like, Mr. Ramsey, do you mind if I talk to your wife directly for a moment? Now it's going to catch them off guard. It's kind of a frame shifter, right? It's going to like shake them up, but they're intrigued now because they want to know what you're going to say after that, because that's breaking what the mold of what any other salespeople ever do. So they'll go, oh, I guess. And so you physically turn yourself and look at the wife or the partner or whatever. Go, Mrs. Homeowner, if your husband turned to you right now and said, I really like this project. I like this company. I think it's a good idea. Let's go for it. What would you say? And you let her answer. And every single time she'll say, you know what? I'd probably say, yeah, I think that's a good idea. Let's go for it. I say, okay, Miss Homeowner, would you mind if I talk to your husband directly for a moment? And by this point, they're starting to realize what's going on. Everybody's starting to grin, but they're going to let you finish. So you turn yourself to him. Mr. Homeowner, if your wife turned to you right now and said, and at this point, everybody's laughing, I really like this company. It's going to solve all the problems. I'm tired of dealing with this. Let's do this. What would you say? And so then he's going to say, well, yeah, I think it's a great idea. And so that's when your line is, great. Sounds like it's decided then. Why don't we get on the calendar? And that one is so much fun because it brings the fun back into the process.
Very good.
Go ahead, Pete. I see you wanted to say something there.
No. Good job. I enjoyed that
one. So that one's a ton of fun, but see how smooth and effective it is. Instantly in our mind, we're like, oh my gosh, that's awesome, because it works. And it takes up no time to do it. There is no more I want to think about it, because they just did. You had the conversation for them and they get that. And it's so cool. So that is, that's what I got for you guys tonight. We made it in perfect, right on time from where I was shooting for.
Great job, Sam. I had a couple of questions in the chat box. One of them was from Paul. He was talking about the reviews. He asked, do you actually give them copies of reviews? Or you just show them what you have? How do you present yours?
So normally, in your credibility book, basically we call it, you've got your sleeves where you've got all your papers slid in. I usually just leave them in there, open it up, and just kind of slide it over, let them read it. You can, they're your reviews. You can give them away if you want to. It's not like it's, proprietary information that you're giving away about your company or anything, because anybody can access them. So, I have in the past, we used to do pre-mailer for our bigger projects. We would book out far enough in advance that we would actually mail a packet to the people. And in that, we would have the picture and bio of our doctors, but our consultants, and then some reviews in there also with it. In our technology, I'm dating myself because we used to physically mail it, but in our day and age, email them ahead of time. You're like, hey, here's somebody, especially if you have reviews in their neighborhood. This is somebody from your neighborhood. Check it out. But then give it to them. Keep it. It doesn't really matter. It's your review.
Hey, Sam, Kevin wants to know about the how you close somebody that says they're getting ready to move soon.
Getting ready to move soon. Oh, that one's easy. It depends on the situation, of course. It could be, let's say it's if it's down, that's an easy one because they have to get it fixed before they sell their house. That's a no-brainer. The only thing we obviously will run into, yeah, that's my email. Sorry, I was just kind of catching up in the chat. The only thing you run into with somebody moving soon is they may not be necessarily super excited about purchasing top end equipment. At the same time, I have sold what was it? It was a real high end, like behind guarded, fence neighborhood. And they only wanted the highest efficiency stuff to stay with the theme of their neighborhood. So it just depends on the context. But if somebody's about to move, you frame it like this. It's all about the frame. Say, Pete, you're fixing to move, or Kevin, you're fixing to move. So the conversation would look like, Kevin, there's a couple of things that happen when when you're putting your house up for sale. One is, because I've worked for realtors on both sides, for buyers and sellers. So what happens is, the buyer comes in, home inspector comes in, they instantly see this system, and I guarantee this will happen if you don't do anything now. They're going to say, okay, it's old heating and air. They'll instantly get an offer $10,000 less to allow for them to replace the heating and air system. So you can either deal with that, or because you're moving in a month from now, it doesn't have to be a flashy system, but what we can do is we can come in here and we can, if you don't mind, would you mind if I showed you a couple options? Because we can come in way lower than that mark and get you a new system in here that's going to roll. And at the same time, the cool part is everything we touch, we're going to bring you up to current code. So when that home inspector comes in, they're going to have, there's nothing that they're going to raise red flags on, and it's going to be a super smooth, headache-free transition for you. How does that sound? Why don't we go ahead and get it done and just take one more thing off your mental plate?
There's more questions. Let me back up. I actually skipped one.
Yeah. Did that answer your question, Kevin?
Sorry about that. Yeah.
Cool.
Good, Kevin. Yes, sir. Thank you. Let's see here. GHM was asking, how many quotes are you presenting with your process?
Good question. It depends. So typically typically 4 is what I shoot for. And here's some statistical numbers. If you get too many options, again, we get into the confused mind says no process. If you give too few, you're missing out on massive sales. So statistically, the way people buy, and this is buying anything, if there's 2 items to choose from, you're going to have basically, do I hit a home run or do I bunt? That's it. There's no choices, right? So it splits usually like 40-60 or 50-50 between your 2 choices. If you have 3 choices, you're really running into a 30-30-30. It can be influenced, of course, but that's just statistically how people buy things when there's 3 options, good, better, best. The beauty comes in when you can shoot for 4 options, because you're going to put that 4th option right in between your middle and your high and make it your upper middle. And you can even increase the price on your highest when you do that. Statistically, the way people buy things is 10% buy in the bottom, 40% buy in the low middle, 40% of people buy in the high middle, 10% buy at the top. That's left to their own devices with 0 education. Then when we come in and educate them, that totally shifts up. So a good example is our team in Austin. We did $8 million last year. We had I think we're 51 or 52% out of the very top 2 communicating systems. So that's through education, and we're priced higher than most people in town because we take them through this process in the order and educate them on that. So shoot for 4. That's really, and what we do with that is we leave that starting at the mid tier. So you say single stage, 2 stage, middle tier, and then usually most companies have 2 high-end communicating equipments. Leave the builder grade crap off. Make them ask for something less. So when you present that, you can even like context it with, there's some other builder grade stuff, but we don't recommend that for anybody who's going to be in the house any amount of time. And then you're left with the 4 top options.
Excellent. Excellent. And Nathan was asking about your CSR when they any pre-qualifying questions that you have yours ask when booking, and then what's your follow-up process?
Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty much the same for most people. The big one is I'll always ask if they're the homeowner or the tenant, or what about that. That's huge. We just, as our company, we don't work on mobile homes. So we always ask that clarifying question: what type of house is it? Ask if they're they don't ask necessarily, but they say, and before they end the call, they say, and we have some really fantastic financing options that your comfort consult. Oh, actually, we're called project managers, but comfort consultant, project manager, whatever. But before they end the call, say, that's some great financing options. There's some 0% options that you might be really interested in. Your comfort consultant will go over all of that with you in the house when they present your price. And so that, one, they're setting it up that, hey, we've got financing, so that excites people. 2, they'll also let you know about all the city or local rebates and manufacturers rebates that are available. And when they present price. So by saying and when they present price, it's basically preconditioning the client that they're going to ask for the sale while they're there.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Let me just throw this in here. If I may, let's see here. I've got the chat boxes going. Joseph says those 4 options make sense. Hey guys, when I was at Lennox, they did a study just supporting what Sam said. And I think it was a Nikon camera, but they had a camera shop, right? So they had a $200 camera. They had, let's say, a $500 camera and a $1,000 camera, right? And about half were buying the middle one, the $500 camera, but they didn't sell many of that $1,000 camera. So what they did is they came in and they positioned the camera for like $3,000. So you had 200, 500, 1,000, and 3,000. That $1,000 camera that wasn't selling hardly at all became their number 1 seller. It was the second best, because most people are saying, you know, I don't really feel like I want the cheapest, but I don't really feel like I deserve the best. Let me just go with the second best. And it's just a psychological thing, just to support Sam's point. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about Joseph there. Okay. So let's see here. Payment options, not financing. Use those.
Kevin, I've seen that. That's definitely, that's something that's a little bit variable. Absolutely. If you're more comfortable using payment options instead of financing. The thing that we have, so I'm going to park on this for a minute, actually. So there are so many things in our industry that is industry speak. You know, the refrigerant, TXV, whatever it is, it's industry speak that homeowners have never heard before. They don't get. So so many times we change our verbiage and change words we use for things. That way it softens them. Like we decided to roll with project managers, comfort consultants, instead of calling us salespeople, right? There's all that kind of thing. We don't do bids. We give presentations. We give proposals. We give estimates, you know, all that kind of stuff. Awesome. When it comes to payment options and financing, that means 2 different things. If I just told you you've got payment options, they could say, okay, well, you know, check or credit card, or they're trying to figure out what that means. That's one of those that's a little more mysterious than we offer awesome and frame it great financing options. People are looking for great financing. That's why when you hear advertising for cars and stuff on the radio, they're not going to tell you, yes, some of them use payment options, but they talk all over the place about financing because they understand what that is. So while you're not wrong, I would submit to you that be a little clearer when it comes to the money. That's the one piece of the puzzle that you want to be as amazingly crystal clear as you can be. Yes, monthly payment options. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, add the monthly there and you're clear. If it's just payment options, it's mysterious. Does that make sense?
Excellent. And I'm just going to cover a couple of these. Paul was talking about asking about maintenance agreements for your existing customer base on the phone, email, or both. I would do it. I would have everybody well-versed on maintenance agreements. Hey, you're one of our members, right? oh, you're not, you should talk to the technician when he comes out because blah, 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 and talk about the benefits. So, and also
Absolutely.
now what we did, we actually included the first year of maintenance agreement for free when you invest in a new system with us. And what we did is, now we actually planted that seed, and this is true, I used to work for the manufacturer. Technically, they can void warranty if they find out that that system's been neglected, hadn't been maintained. So if you're on a maintenance agreement and you have documentation, you've got validation that will justify any warranty claims. Now, we all know that most manufacturers don't make a big deal out of that, but it's still a very valid point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. And here's how I frame that, and train the teams to frame that, is part of your quality control process. And price it in. Don't give it away. Put it in your pricing, of course. And we don't give anything away. Price it in, but the way you frame it is, but wait, and this is before you show pricing. Here's something else that we do with every new system that we install. With us, we've got a tiered plan. We include this plan for the first year at no extra charge, because it's wildly important to us, and this is how we support those awards we win for low number of early breakdowns. This is our quality control. We want to get our technicians' hands on the system twice in the first year to make sure it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's off to a good start. After the first year, it's up to you if you want to keep it going, stay the same plan, increase some other plans, or of course you could always cancel it if you want to. Of course, we recommend maintenance. You don't drive your car without changing the oil, but it's free for the first year because we want to make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Excellent, excellent. Now, Kevin brings up a very good strategy, because I've got a number of customers that do this. They don't give it for free. In fact, they'll lump a 10-year program at full rate as part of the bundle. They say, listen, everything's included. You can't write us a check for the next 10 years. All the maintenance is included. Everything's under warranty, right? So that's a really good strategy as well. Now, guys, I wanted to interject.
Absolutely.
Here. Great job, Sam. I just want to interject briefly. This stuff only becomes fluid through plenty of training and plenty of practice. Real quick story. When I moved to Florida, I'm embarrassed to say, I went and took salsa lessons. Dun, 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 dun. So I took the Cuban rueda, they call it the wheel, salsa. So they had level 1, and it literally was 1, 2, 3, pause, 1, 2, 3, pause, right? I was stuck in level 1 for about 3 weeks. I couldn't figure these steps out because I just didn't have the rhythm. I don't know. So anyway, ultimately I got it. I went to level 2 and I kind of got good. And I got to level 3 and level 4. I got up to about level 5. And some new students came in, and they were moving up into about level 2. And I went over and was helping them and everything else. And this guy says, I just don't get it. I mean, not everybody's a natural like this guy. Now, I was stuck in level 1 for 3 weeks, and this guy's calling me a natural. Guys, you look like a natural because you're well rehearsed. You're planning, okay? I saw a video today. I want to share this, a little bit of a preview of what we're going to talk about tomorrow. It's called No Flinching, No Panicking Drill. It's for martial artists. No flinching, no panicking. So if you can see my camera, hopefully you can. So when they throw a punch, your body, your face is going to flinch, or you're going to react, right? And the theory here is that calmness always wins in a fight. And so what they would do is they would have this exercise. And so first of all, they learn how to block, right? So they would get a partner, and the partner would very slowly throw a punch, and the person would block it. And here comes another one. But they had to keep they couldn't flinch or they couldn't jerk or anything. It had to be smooth. And so gradually they would speed up and speed up and speed up. And ultimately they had a calm person who didn't expend all their energy, freaking out because they're being attacked. They were calm and they could defend themselves properly. Well, energy expended, let's talk about it emotionally. When your customer is coming in here and they're throwing this question out at you, if you aren't well versed on this, first of all, if you hadn't practiced these techniques, you don't have them under your belt, every scenario out there has already been encountered for the most part. So we got a handful of responses that we have rehearsed very well. In fact, we've done it to the point where we don't even flinch. They throw it at you. We don't get emotional. You're too high. Well, actually, we're not high. Our prices are very competitive. You know what? Why it seems high is because they're not including this. They're very calm. And this is how you win people over, because they're in an emotional state, right? They're excited. They're emotional. I got this big investment. This guy's trying to take advantage of me. He's trying to charge me too much. I don't know, right? So all this stuff is going, but you're this calm appeal. You're the alpha, right? You're coming in and you're providing them these wonderful solutions, and you become that stabilizing influence. But it's only through plenty of training, plenty of practice, that it becomes smooth. And then you take that white belt off and you move up to whatever the next belt is, blue belt, I guess, and put that one on. And then you move up to the next one. But it's through a lot of practice. Now, Sam didn't get to be as good as he is his first year of sales, I wouldn't think. And I know I certainly did. And I struggled with it a long time. But I went in and I took some training, and the biggest part of it was role playing. Get somebody in your organization and practice. I know we hate to role play. We hate it, but guys, it works, right? Because when you've done it 100 times, just like going to the dancing classes or martial arts classes, when the situation comes up, you don't flinch. It just flows. And so that's what this whole thing's about. Okay, so yeah, Sam put that back in there. Let's see here. Kevin says, be ready to absorb that shock factor. I'll reactions amplified their reactions. Like when a baby falls, you don't freak out. Okay. So yeah, good point. You got to be prepared.
Yeah, I saw several questions out there. So the podcast is called Close It Now. So I saw several people asking about that. So closeitnow.net is the website. That's basically what hosts my podcast. So you can check out, there's 31 episodes. I just sent another one in for editing. So I have 32 episodes up here pretty quickly. And the cool part is I also checked the stats. We're in 30 countries now. So that's kind of fun. But yeah, so there's 30 episodes. Go binge. There's a ton of stuff there to help you out.
Okay, so tomorrow, let's talk about that just a little bit before, because we're about out of time here. We're going to wrap this recording on down, and I'm going to go ahead and end that. Guys, tomorrow we're going to pull all this stuff together, and we're going to talk about how you can take all these concepts and everything else and literally guarantee yourself that extra sale or extra set of sales above what you're accustomed to. You can improve, but you got to put in the effort. You got to put in the time. You got to put yourself out there. You got your comfort zone. That's okay. We just need to enlarge it a little bit, right? Don't change who you are. Just become more, right? So we're going to add a few things to this. So we got some really cool strategies for you tomorrow. I've got a free gift as well, and but I've already alluded to it. It was on the frame. A pattern interrupt. Anybody heard of that expression? A pattern interrupt. A pattern. I know you have. A pattern interrupt is like when you ever had a baby that was out playing and they fall down and they look up at mom and they're about to cry, but mom just starts laughing, and that's called a pattern interrupt. They were going in one direction, they looked to another person, and that other person led them in a totally different direction. Okay, that's a pattern interrupt. So the baby was going to cry and it ends up laughing, right? So that's what I was thinking about with your ping pong. They were totally thinking, okay, how are we going to handle this? Sam went in and just totally interrupted that whole train of thought and just took it in a new direction, and everybody laughs, and it broke the ice, and now you're in. These strategies are much more powerful when you analyze exactly how they're working and look at them on a deeper level. But the point is, they do work, right? But we have to know how to use them. We have to practice them. They have to come across smooth. They have to come off as natural and genuine, and that only can happen through practice. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Kevin wanted to thank you, Stephen Crosby, about that video. You're getting a lot of fans. We're going to lose all our customers over to Steve, I think. Thanks, Steve.
We'll team up, man.
No, great job. We appreciate that. And I really appreciate you posting it over in the group.
They're going to have to go through you anyway.
Say again?
So they're going to have to go through you anyway.
Oh, yeah, go through me anyway. No. We'll definitely have to have you back on some of these on some of the service technician opportunities. This here obviously is designed more around the comfort consultant who doesn't have those exact skill sets. Of course, they can acquire those as well. But
the cool part, just super quick though, is the philosophy we talked about in that order. It can be simmered down into, it literally is the same type of conversation for a service tech, for anybody. You know, intro, just super quick intro. You know, ask if you can help. You know, basically, before I look around, mind if I ask you a couple quick questions?
Yeah.
And people love that. And then once you've found what it is, just ask. Great. Now that I've noticed this issue, would you like to hear what the solution is? And just asking that permission, give them the info. Does that make sense? Check in. That one little thing will change everything for you.
Yeah, and I love step one, the intro agenda. You guys, if you're not familiar with it, let me just share this with you, because when I discovered this sometime before as well, I just thought, man, it's so powerful. So the agenda, they call it the agenda close, but it's actually the agenda opener. And so imagine this, you got your letterhead, right? You got 2 copies, and you pretty much put an agenda together so that your customer, when you're coming out to their home, they know what's going to happen. So step one, we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about your current issues. And we're going to do an assessment of everything, and then boom, 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 right? And there it is. So you print it off on really nice letterhead with really good stock, and you lay this out, you know, for your customer, and you open it up. Now, everybody's coming there. I'm going to give you a quote. I'm going to give you a bid. I'm going to give you a but you're sitting down. You say, this is a very important investment. Now, this is the agenda. This is going to cover exactly what you can expect. That's your copy. You feel free to make notes on there. And so what you're doing is you're communicating that this is an important decision. This is an investment. And I, as your comfort consultant, take this very seriously. So I'm establishing, I've got the frame. I've decided that this is important, and people will adjust their frame to yours if yours is strong enough. And so they're going to start to take this decision and they're going to take you very seriously. So these are all good points. I'm gonna wrap the recording up here just so we don't run over. For those of you who are watching this through the recording, thank you for doing that. We're gonna put the live session for tomorrow night on. It will be live. Otherwise, if you're watching this after tomorrow, you can watch it on the recording as well. We're gonna put all these up on YouTube so that you guys can refer to these in your leisure. In the meantime, Sam Wakefield, thank you so much for such a great job. And we're gonna go ahead and close out the recording right now. We'll see you on the next one. Pete Ramsey here. I am out. Okay, guys.